So welcome to JG's Fight Talk, sponsored by Rich's Boxing and Limitless Creations. And with me now, I've got Seamus Devlin. How you doing, Seamus?
Hello. How do you, mate? I'm good, mate. How are you, pal?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, mate. I'm loving the
Good, mate.
retro Adidas top.
Yes, mate. Yeah, they've got me in touch with the old feminine side, mate. The old pink and purple get out, lad. Yeah. I get a
Mate,
few comments on this shirt, mate. I get a few comments.
yeah, but do they really sort of back it up after they've given the comment? I bet they
Oh,
just...
yeah, it's always in a positive regard, mate.
So how are
Yeah.
you anyway, mate? All
Really
good?
good, mate. Really good. Family's healthy. I'm healthy. I'm happy. Yeah, a few things in the background, but nothing too serious. Yeah, everything's going good, mate. Everything's going really good. I'm a busy boy, as you know yourself. You'll have done your little bit of research.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, 40 fights in just over 13 months. Could have been more than that. There was a few hiccups, COVID, boxing board pulled boxing in January of this year. I've had a few shows fall through, but besides that, everything's run really smooth, mate. And yeah, I'm on the crest of a wave, and I've not got off it.
I think that's mental. How you say you've had 40 fights in like 13 months, and yet you're like, oh, but there's been a couple of hiccups. I could have had a bit more. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, look how many you've had. That's mad in its own. You think what some people do in 13 months, and
Yeah.
you're loving it, aren't you? Absolutely loving it.
Yeah,
You can
you're
see it.
absolutely. I think some people would feel lucky to have 40 fights in their career. I
Yeah,
mean, you can't take anything for granted. As I've got older, I've become a bit more, I wouldn't say superstitious, I'd say more religious, but there's definitely someone looking down on me, mate, that's for sure, when I look at the last 6.5 years of my life. But um, there's not one aspect of this game I don't love, I don't enjoy. Do you know that? Hence my resume speaks for itself, and my record, the fact that I fight so actively.
yeah,
Um, I mean, especially at my age, when I got into the game and turned over as a professional, I was late. I didn't start boxing until I was 27, and that's forget the pro game or the pro level. I didn't even lace up gloves till I was 27. So for me, I didn't want to waste any time, and I've done the same here now as a professional. For me, it's like time is of the essence. I'm 34 now, just turned 34 on the 1st of July. I don't have time to waste, mate. I'm not going to sit there and let months pass and watch weeks fly by. I'm going to get out there week in, week out, and I'm going to learn something. And that's what I've been doing. I've been learning massively on the road. Some of these experiences are invaluable. You've got
yeah,
different styles week in, week out, different equations to solve. And you learn so much about the game, about utilizing your space in the ring, your footwork, how integral your jab is, slowing the prospects down, slowing the fight down to a pace you're comfortable with. You learn what weight suits you more. So I've learned what my optimum weight is for going up and down the weights. I've learned a lot of do's and don'ts. I've learned a lot about myself, my own body. It's been invaluable, mate. Absolutely invaluable. And as I say, at my age, I'm not wasting any time, and I'm a fresh 34. So I haven't took a lot of abuse, like a lot of these
yeah.
kids that come up from the amateurs from a young age right up. So I'm a fresh 34, but I adapt well. I learn well. You can see that in the gym. The prospects that I spark and see that, I get a lot of good feedback, and that's because I live and breathe it, mate. I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I think that's half the battle, isn't it? Because you can, a lot of people can get to the amount of fights that you've had already, and by that time they are considering, do I still want to do it? The questions start coming in, don't they? Where you're just buzzing. You can tell by the way you're talking, the way you are down the gym, by how I've spoken to other people, and it just flows out of you. And if you love the sport that much, then it's it's not a chore, is it? It's your life.
That's it, mate. I think the old saying, if you can find something you love doing, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think
Yeah,
that's what I've experienced truly, mate, in the last 12 to 13 months. I mean, my job is going to the gym, getting. I train twice a day most days, so I'm not lazy. And if people see my schedule, some people would think, you know what, fuck it, I prefer the 9 to 5. Fuck that for about a
yeah,
life. It can be quite intense. I mean, some people think, oh, he must not spar because he fights regular. He must. I train as hard as these prospects, and I think that is reflected in my record and in my resume. I know people might say 1 win and 1 draw, but without being disrespectful, there's a couple on there that should have gone my way. I know that, and the gentlemen that I fought know that. But that's just the way it goes on the road. And other fighters can tell you that. And there's been a few close ones. I mean, I lost out at 58, 57 to a 9-0 prospect, literally 1 point by a whisker. Do you know, these things happen. But it's a tough game, but it's a rewarding one. And like I say, mate, I love it. And everyone that I cross paths with, mate, can see that it's not a chore to me. I don't have to. I'm human. Don't get me wrong. There's days where, and there is weeks where you're not firing all cylinders. You can't be at the races every week. And when you're training like I do, and sometimes admittedly overtraining, sometimes I can do that. There's not as much method behind what I'm doing, and I've gone a little bit too eager. And I've ended up with a bit of fatigue, chronic fatigue. That can happen, and then you're in the ring and you're a bit flat, and it's a lonely place in there. But you have to get through. And you have to use mental fortitude and dig deep, back down on that gum shield, and get through.
Yeah. And like you were saying, you've joined the game quite late. What did you do prior then? You know, boxing obviously hasn't always been there. So what did you do prior to boxing?
What did I do prior to boxing? I was working jobs that I didn't want to work, mostly, mate. Menial tasks, in and out of jobs. I was good at holding down a job. Don't get me wrong. I used to hold down jobs for a year, 2 years at a time. But I was in and out of work. I was eventually ended up before boxing. I ended up in a bakery. I was working in a bakery, but some of the jobs I was doing, I was just miserable. Night shifts, then you're switching round, 12-hour shifts, sometimes 16-hour shifts. You have to stay on, just mentally draining, monotonous, horrible jobs, mate. Soul destroying, absolutely soul destroying. Hello, brother. Yeah, so soul destroying jobs, but that's what I was doing basically. Menial tasks, in and out of work. Just horrible, mate. Just no good. I knew it wasn't me. The moment I stepped into those work environments. That it just wasn't me, mate. And I found my forte. I found my platform and my stage, and it's definitely in the squared circle.
So how did you come across that then? Because obviously you've had, as you say, you've had multiple jobs. You've done different hours. You've done different shifts. You've been through all things. Even, you know, loving it. Bakery must have been a nightmare because I would have just sat there and eaten, to be honest. But,
oh, mate, no, you wouldn't have from this bakery, mate.
we won't name it.
you'd have left them pastries alone, pal. You could have seen that workforce, trust me.
Yeah, we won't name and shame anyone.
We'll leave that out.
But yeah, so why boxing? Why did that sort of come up?
Well, looking back now, boxing, I've always had a passion for boxing. I've always loved boxing from a young age. I remember watching some of my first encounters with boxing when I had the little white square Sky box that had literally 3 channels on. You'd click it and it'd have Sky 1, Sky Sports 1 and Sky Sports 2. 1995, I believe it was. 6 or 7 years old. I lived on Cambridge Drive watching Chris Eubank versus Collins. The one where Eubank comes out on the Harley and just being absolutely captivated by these enigmatic, charismatic characters. And I remember sitting there watching it with my dad, and I think I was rooting for Eubank, and my dad, being the Irish Republican, was rooting for Collins. And even back then, when I look back then, mate, the way it made me feel, that little tingly feeling it gave me watching it. And I remember even thinking, every time I used to watch the big fight nights, thinking, that's a bit of me. That just captivated me, mate. And I've always loved it from a young age. I never affiliated myself with any gym. I never got affiliated with any gym for several reasons. But like I said, that's why I had a late introduction into it. But looking back, I've always had a passion for boxing, for combat sports in general, but mainly boxing. I've always loved it. So it was the natural choice. But I had to lose everything before I took that plunge 2 feet in and just dived in. I had to lose everything before I did that, mate. And that happened at the tender age of 26. So yeah.
We've got Gemma. She's just put, I only started boxing in January this year. I'm 37 next month. Age is just a number. Fair play.
Yeah, big up, Gemma. Spot on. 100%. If you look after yourself, you live right, you get enough sleep, you're well hydrated, you get the right minerals and nutrients, you've got a positive attitude, you can keep yourself young. You're as young, honestly, I say this all the time, you know, it's you're as young as you feel. You're as young as, if you're out there and you're gambling, you're drinking, you're smoking, you're eating, pardon my French, shit. You know what I mean? You're going to feel shit. It's as simple as that. You know, it's no one's got the blueprint. No one comes into life with a blueprint and the answer to everything. But there is a structure out there. And like I said, there's little things I do and I follow it. But I switch it up. because your brain understands routine. It's the same when you're running or you're training. I switch my my routines up. But there's things you can do out there to keep your vitality up there, your energy levels up. But Seamus keeps smashing it, brother. Thank you, thank you. But yeah, like I said, there is ways of doing it, and age is just a number. But you've got to look after yourself. It's got to be done. You've got to look after yourself, and you've got to keep this right. You've got to program that subconscious, because that's what keeps people in the house. That's what keeps people bound to the settee, watching Netflix in that biscuit barrel every 10 minutes. That's what we all have it. We all have it,
Yeah.
mate. We all have that subconscious. It's about reprogramming that subconscious, that little voice in your head that tells you to stay on that settee or tells you to stay in bed that extra hour. You just got to reprogram that voice in your head. And once you can learn to do that, life can become beautiful.
Yeah, well said, mate. Well said, to be fair. And look at, as you say, looking at your career and the speed that you've done it just shows how fit and focused you really are. And, you know, there's some good names on that resume as well. Who's been, you know, and you're unstoppable. Let's put it this way, mate. You know, you haven't been stopped in your 40 fights. You're looking good, mate. And
thank you.
Who's been the toughest test? I know you probably get asked this, but who's that one that you thought?
The good thing is I have that. Sorry, mate, for interrupting. I have that many fights in between interviews and podcasts, etc. That the answer could be different every single time I do an interview. So I don't actually mind answering the question. There's a few worthy mentions up there for all-round tough night, as in really hard, having to grit through, bite down and get to that final bell. I'd say Ryan Amos. That was unbelievable. That was tough. King Punisher, I believe his nickname is, gentleman from the Midlands. I think he is the Midlands area champion. That guy sat on me for 4 rounds and did not get off me and tried to take my soul. That gentleman, that was tough. Matt McCallum in Newcastle. I've done 12 rounds with him now, 2 6-rounders. In the last one, it actually had a bit of a funny ending. It's on YouTube. I actually had to spew at the end of the 6th. He actually made me spew. It was that tough. It was that difficult a fight. There was a few things that went on that week. I'm not going into it. I don't make excuses. One thing you'll see with me after every fight, I don't go to Facebook and make excuses. The circumstances and variables nobody cares about. We're out there week in, week out. It's not in our favour. It is what it is. But there was a lot that went on that week. But yeah, I went in there and I got through the 6 rounds. But Matt McCallum, he was a tough one. Leon Willings, he gave me a tough night on my debut. I was like a rabbit in the headlights. That was a tough one. There's a few. Paul Keane, he was technically brilliant, switch hitter, southpaw. He's the current IBO champion right now, 2-weight Celtic champion and Scottish champion, I believe. I think he's ranked in the top 15, might even be number 12 in the UK. He was absolutely brilliant. 6 rounds I took him. I think I've done 13 6-rounders now in total, which is really good as well. But yeah, they're just some worthy mentions, mate. But if I think about it, there's been that many now. I've had quite a few tough nights. I've had some really, really tough nights. Yeah, there's a few more I could mention, mate, but they're just the ones that come to mind automatically.
And do you find you're getting better and better and learning after each one? Do you feel that?
100%. It's evident. If it wasn't, I think I'd probably give up by now, because I mean, 13 months in, if you're not getting any better, then you've not been applicable. You've not been applying yourself. You've not been switched on. You've not been focused. You've not wanted to be there. So yeah, I've absolutely, mate. I mean, it doesn't matter who comes down to spar, and you can ask anybody, and anybody that is watching this or that does watch this will be able to confirm this. I don't turn it down, whether it's 8 rounds, 6 rounds, 10 rounds. You can throw at me at that gym. My coach can throw that at me, and I will do it. I'm prepared to do it, and I will see the final bell. I'm a harsh taskmaster on myself, and like I say, I'm consistent, but I don't swerve sparring. I don't swerve training sessions. I don't swerve road work, and I think that's, like I say, that's evident in my results, and that's why I've been able to do what I've been able to do with a smile on my face, mate, and without any sustainable damage, without any serious damage. So yeah.
Definitely. Well, we're going to quickly turn to our friend Dale, who sent me a message a minute ago. And yeah, Dale's a character, as we both know. He's
one of your own guys. He is, mate. Like I said to you earlier before we went live, he's one of your own, and I met him, like I say, about 14 months ago now, and ever since that, we just hit it off, and we've just corresponded ever since. And he's a diamond of a bloke. He helps me out if I need him. He's always there to give me advice. We correspond regularly. He is a top bloke.
Well, I asked Dale the golden question. I said, "Is he better than you?"
I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. Go on.
So Dale replied, I don't know if we can hear this, right?
When you interview him, why don't you ask him that question? See what he says.
Oh no!
So,
that was a good answer. That was
that was his way of basically swerving the question. So, yeah. Seamus, if it was you and Dale, that's quite a dust up as well. To be fair, that's a head-on collision.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun because I think there'd be that journeyman pride and the fact that we know each other, and there'd be some bragging rights.
Yeah, definitely.
His brother Louis definitely wouldn't want him to lose that. He's a taskmaster and a half, and when he's in the corner, he'll be telling Dale to step on the gas. But that would, you know what, that'd be good fun, and I mean this. That would be an absolute honour and a privilege because Dale knows this. When I come into the game, I'm studying journeymen, and he was one of them that I was studying along with Willie Warburton. Massive shout out to Willie Warburton, Christian Late. These are guys that I studied along with my manager and coach, Curtis, his old man, Des Gargano, rest in peace, absolute legend. So Dale knows he was one of the journeymen I was studying. So to even be mentioned in the same breath, like Peter Buckley, what a legend. And to even be mentioned in the same breath as these people, mate, it's surreal to me. It's surreal to me, mate. So yeah, but I'm not going to answer that directly because I find it, if I answer it directly, I find it a tad disrespectful. What I would say is this: I believe it would be fun. It would be intriguing, and I believe that if we fought 10 times, it wouldn't be the same result every time. That's all I'm prepared to say on that. I think Dale's got a bit of youth on his side, and he's definitely got experience on his side. He comes from a good stock. He's got amateur pedigree. You couldn't take him lightly. On his day, Dale, he's no mug. He's no mug. No. But, yeah, I can't answer that directly.
And then he gave me a list of other possible fights for you. Of other journeymen, Chris Adaway, Dean Wilkinson, Stephen Jackson, Michael Mooney, and Paul Cummins. Out of the 5, how many would you win?
Out of the 5, how many would I win? There was a few there that are in weight divisions way below myself.
I know, he's a nightmare.
Did you mention Stephen Jackson there? My little friend Stephen Jackson. I'm sure he got mentioned there, yeah. Shout out to Stephen Jackson. That was one of the first guys I hit it off with at the gym. He's a little dynamo, that guy. He's a workhorse, that kid. But yeah, he's a super flyweight, mate. So if I wanted to know,
you and Dale would fight anyone. I know what you're like. I know you're kind.
Yeah, we really would. I know Dale would. This is what I think. That's what sometimes can separate the top journeyman from the. I don't like using the word average. I don't like. Another thing I like to clear up as well, because a few times in interviews people are saying, "Oh, one of the best journeymen in the UK," and it has been said by some legends in the game and top journeymen. But I really don't see myself in that light. I mean, I find it not disrespectful. You don't put these titles on yourself. These are not, you know what I mean? I'll never be self-proclaimed. People bestow these things upon you, don't they? These titles. But I look at some of the journeymen out there, and yeah, they're fantastic. They're absolutely unbelievable.
But Seamus, sorry to cut you off, but at the same time, you've got to give yourself some credit, mate. Your resume in that length of time, 40 fights in 13 months, your dedication to the game, your love for what you do, I think speaks volumes as being a hell of a role model for people coming through. And, I know you're not an egotistical guy. You're not that sort of person at all, but I think you got to take credit, mate. I think that's a real, you've shown people that if you really put your heart into it and you put the hard work in, that you can achieve. And you enjoy what you do. Like you said, it's not a chore. It's a lifestyle. It's something you love, and I think that speaks more volume than just looking at a record. I think when you look at the person, I think as a person you stand out, and I think that's major.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. That means a lot, mate. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I'm a very anyone that spends any length of time with me in my company will tell you the same thing. I'm a very humble, modest guy. I'm from a small working class town called Padiham, mate. It's like people are more familiar with Burnley. It's an old mining village for the cotton industry and Jim Bowen. That's that's what we're known for. But yeah, it's so I'm very humble and I'm very modest as well. And I keep my feet in the ground. I train hard, but I do aim high. You've got to chase them dreams. I mean, like the other day, I fought on Sky Sports. The other week, I fought a 6 round on Sky on the Liam Smith undercard, and I was sat in a room with my missus, and Dillian White walked in, and Barry McGuigan. And I'm sat in a room with Barry McGuigan and Dillian White. It doesn't get any better than that, mate. It doesn't get any better than that for me. And it's just magic. It's just absolute magic. But as I said, it means a lot, those words you've just said, mate, because like I said, that's what, when I get messages, I receive messages of people saying they've seen an interview or a podcast and they've seen my story and it's uplifted them and it's motivated them. It's magic, mate. It's priceless. Absolutely priceless, mate. If just one or two people can watch an interview or see a story and be captivated by it, then it's all worthwhile.
Yeah, it's job done, isn't it? Job done.
100%,
SWS Boxing has turned around and said, do you think Morrison will beat Bentley?
That's a good question. That, funny enough, just before I came on here, I got a shout out on the Fight Disciples podcast by Nick Pete earlier, and I was watching that, and that came up. That fight came up. I don't blame anybody for thinking Bentley's a heavy favourite in this fight. Denzel Bentley is sheer class. In fact, he's one of my favourite fighters domestically.
Lovely guy as well. Lovely guy.
But let's not overlook Morrison in this. Morrison, I know
he's got power, Morrison.
He has got power. Like I said, in the fight with myself, I think he had this British title fight coming up, so I think he was happy to just keep me at range and do the job. He wasn't gonna, you know what I mean? He wasn't gonna mix it up. Heads could have come together or anything, do you know what I mean? So I think that I got Morrison at a good time for myself. Do you know what I mean? But don't write him off. I don't think anybody should be writing him off in this fight. I think he's dangerous. He's obviously been in the gym. You look at the stable and the people he's got around him.
Class.
Come on, they're not going in there without a clue. Joe Gallagher. I mean, he's an absolute legend on the domestic boxing scene and an absolute gentleman, by the way. Absolute gentleman. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Bentley. Definitely leaning towards Bentley. But I've watched quite a bit of Morrison now to have a good study of him, and I've followed him before I even stepped in the ring with him. But can't write him off, and it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if he did do it.
Cool. And the last question I've been chucking at people recently, Anthony Joshua obviously lost a few weeks back now to Usyk. Who would you like to see Joshua in next?
No interest whatsoever, mate, in what he does next. No interest whatsoever. If he fought Tyson Fury, I'd tune in. I wouldn't lie. I mean, anybody would tune into that fight. That has its own magnitude, doesn't it? That fight, I think, speaks for itself. But
that's without belts, really, isn't it? That's without belts. Yeah. That's just something you want to see, isn't it? But
yeah, in my opinion, mate, the mask well and truly slipped after the Usyk fight in the post-fight speech. I'll not elaborate any further, mate. But he can do whatever move he wants to make. But I'm not that interested. But Usyk, on the other hand, what an absolute phenomenal talent. The range management, his footwork, his placement, his punch variety. The way he timed it, the way he times going through the gears. So clever, mate. So good to watch. It's like reminiscent of Lomachenko in many ways. Different style, different weights, but it's reminiscent of it. So energy efficient. And they're really good to watch. It was really quality. So I'll be interested to see what he does next.
Yeah. So we'll change the question then. Usyk, Fury, if it happens, where do you put your money?
Oh, mate, that's a good one. This debate is a good one.
you asked for it, Seamus. You asked for it.
I was having it with my brother the other day. So my brother will end up watching this. And I know he'll be sat there now going, Usyk. Usyk doesn't touch Fury for me. I think Fury's all wrong for Usyk. He's all wrong
for anyone.
the way he moves and the jerky style and the way he feints and his footwork, and I just see him being all wrong. Usyk, what works against a lot of these heavyweights and these cruiserweights, because no disrespect, the cruiserweight for me isn't one of the hottest divisions in boxing. So to unify that is definitely an achievement, but it wasn't right up there in the pound for pound accolades. But he's gone up and he's done it now at heavyweight. So fair play to him. It speaks for itself. But what works against a lot of these heavyweights and cruiserweights at that level will not work against Tyson Fury. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Tyson Fury is a different level. He's a different. Usyk beats Fury. Mark my words. I disagree, my friend.
Yeah,
I disagree.
To be honest, I'm with you, Seamus, on this one, mate. I think Fury is an absolute nightmare for anyone. I think the way he moves, as you say, his footwork, hand speed as well. I think he's just the total package, and he's just a heavyweight. He's a big lump. You can't muscle him about, and I think he can keep you at distance. He can get in, like we saw against Wilder. He can get in. He can do the damage inside as well, and I think he's proved that he's got everything, and it's a case of what tactic he's going to use. And
100%. 100%. He's not. Like I said, if you look at the first Wilder fight, it was that was more about getting himself back in shape. He probably shouldn't have been in there at that time. He should have probably done that so many months down the line. But the fact that he didn't do that so many months down the line, he got back in there and he outboxed him completely. And then he got caught at the end, so which justified that silly draw. Come back and absolutely annihilated him. Tyson Fury has shown time and time again why he is the best heavyweight on the planet, and I just don't see Usyk being able to touch him. Usyk could pull something out of the bag, absolute magician that he is. He could pull something out of the bag, but I believe it'd be close to a miracle tackle to beat the Gypsy King. That's my opinion.
Well, there you have it. Seamus has spoken. That's all we can go with. And as I say, Seamus, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. And like I said, I've spoken to a lot of people. They've all spoken highly of you. And I just, from July 2021, your first fight, I think it was July 30th, 31st.
That's correct.
You've just absolutely flown. And I'll take my hat off to you, mate. I think you're a real credit to your family, a good role model, and anyone who's joining the sport late, especially as well. Like we were saying, talking about Gemma as well. So, hats off to you, mate. And thank you very much for coming on.
That means a lot to me, that, mate. Thank you for your kind words. And like I say, it was an absolute honour and a pleasure to come on here, mate. So the honour was all mine, mate. Don't you worry about that. And as I said, there'll be a part 2 down the line when there's more to cover and more to say, I suppose, because I'm not even halfway through the journey yet, mate. So, thanks for having me on, mate. God bless and stay in touch, pal.
No problem at all. And as I say, especially when you've beaten Dale, we'll definitely get a part 2, mate. Don't you worry about that.
Yes, lad.
On that note,
he'll be seething, but on that note, we'll take a rain check.
Seamus, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon, mate.
God bless, brother. Take care.
Take care, mate.
Are you ready?